You make it feel like it's the arcade when we're playing pixel out until the day breaks. We'll keep breaking down, there's something next to play. Big change, the score is rising as the screen fades. Ain't over when you stay. Now who's that saying they're the pinball wizard? He moves too slow with his grubby little fingers. Keep pressing buttons and see what gets triggered. I'll just smile and watch him reconsider again.
Woo! What's going on? This is The Fight Guy, and I'll tell you exactly what the hell's going on. Dan Hooker is out of his fight against Justin Gaethje at UFC 313. The co-main event is up in the air right now. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody knows who Justin Gaethje is going to fight next, and that is why I'm making this video for you to let you guys know the best 5 possible fill-ins for Dan Hooker at UFC 313. I'm going to let you know in a perfect world, in Guy's perfect world, what happens next, and then what the UFC's probably going to do anyways. If you're like me and you bought tickets to go see this event live, then you want to watch this video because I care very much. Half the reason I bought tickets to go see this pay-per-view, my first pay-per-view, was to see this fight. I was expecting gallons of blood to be shed on the canvas. Now I don't know if I'm going to get that. So we're going to get right into it. The best 5 potential violent fighters to put on a show equal, if not better, than what Dan Hooker was going to do at 313 against Gaethje. Let's get right into it, starting with the first fighter, Ilia Topuria. Booked this fight against Justin Gaethje. Look, he just vacated the featherweight belt after completely blazing through that entire division. He held the belt only for 1 year. He took a picture of the belt, said happy first birthday, put it on Instagram, then vacated it, which is kind of cold, not going to lie. Got to give Ilya props for that. He just knocked out Max Holloway in October. Plenty of layoff. That's 6 months. You've had 6 months. You're not sitting on your ass the entire time. You're a world champion. You're training. You're in the gym. You just beat the guy that knocked out Justin Gaethje. This would be the perfect debut for you. There's not a better debut in the lightweight division for Ilya. If you give Ilya Islam next, that's just stupid. If Ilya loses, you're never going to see a lighter champ move up to fight a bigger champ. All right, you're never going to see it. Ilya needs to prove that he could swing like the lightweights can swing. And what better test than against Justin Gaethje at UFC 313, opening for Alex Pereira and Ankalaev. It's a perfect opportunity for this guy. I hope he takes it. Then there will be no questions on who gets a shot at Islam next, especially if he gets Justin Gaethje out there before the time. I went to Ilya's Twitter. He didn't even entertain the idea. There's no mentions anywhere. Though he's only got one tweet this month. It's from February 9th. So I don't know if he's flirting with the idea. I don't know what's going on. I can just be hopeful that Ilya would step in. That would be the number 1 best pick. As somebody who bought tickets to go see this fight live, if I'm expecting to see Dan Hooker and Ilia Topuria is coming out to make his lightweight debut against Justin Gaethje, not upset. I'm not upset. I'll actually pay the door guy an extra $100 on my way out of the arena for upgrading that card. Second best fighter, the put in the shoes of Dan Hooker to fight Justin Gaethje is going to be Arman Tsarukyan. Arman, there's too many reasons to not book this guy to fight Justin Gaethje. Look, Arman's not getting the next title shot. If he thinks that he could sit and he wait and his back will feel better in 9 months and then they'll let him fight Islam, and that's not going to happen. Islam is the number 1 pound-for-pound contender. He can go up and fight Bilal if he wants. The opportunities are endless for this guy. He's the number 1 pound-for-pound. You're not just going to get an instant. You need to fight somebody, and saving 313 on an 11 days notice when we were supposed to get Dan Hooker and you're going in there to fight number 3 contender Justin Gaethje, that would be an amazing fight. And if you win that fight, then it would make sense to give you another opportunity at the belt. You let the UFC down, you let fans down, you let a lot of people down, and I understand it's not 100% on you. I know injuries come up. I get it. But at a certain point, you have to ask what percentage of this is on you. You know, you show up, you talk shit at the press conference, and then you don't fight. And that brings me up this tweet. I went to Arman's Twitter to see if he would entertain the idea of fighting Justin. I don't know how his back's doing. And he puts out a tweet, karma doesn't miss. Big mouth, glass hands. Maybe just stick to talking instead of fighting. At Dan the Hangman Hooker. Dan did cook him in the comments. He said, if only your dad pulled out quicker than your last fight. That's kind of funny. Got to give that's a 10-9 round to Dan Hooker. Not quite a 10-8, but still. It's funny Armand said that because that's exactly what he did last month. He talked at the press conference, and then he did not fight. So that's an L Armand. I hope he redeems himself with the UFC. I hope he redeems himself with his fans, and I hope he redeems himself for Armenia. Third fighter, the third best fight to step in for Dan Hooker to fight Justin Gaethje's got to be Renato Moneyman Moicano. This guy's got an aura. I understand, he's coming off of a round 1 submission loss, but to who? The number 1 pound-for-pound fighter, Islam Makhachev. It looks good for Justin. He's coming, Justin's going to fight the guy that just fought the number 1 pound-for-pound, that just fought the champion of your weight class. It makes a lot of sense, all right, logistically. It would be an amazing fight. You have like a submission guy, which is what Moicano is. He's looking for submissions against a knockout artist. It's the classic matchup. We're all excited. We'd all be happy to see that. As somebody who's bought tickets to go watch this, I wouldn't be mad to see Moneyman walk out there and get paid. I went to Renato's Twitter. It says right here, 2 weeks is good. I have enough time for 2 or 3 sparring sessions. I will be ready if they call. That's the shit I'm talking about. That's how fighters get fans. If you ever see fighters with like 3,000 or 4,000 followers and you wonder, why they don't have 127 plus thousand followers, because they don't do shit like this. They don't do shit like this. Stepping in, like, if they need me, call me. 2 times in 3 months. Love Moicano. I'd love to see him get any opportunities he gets, including watching him fight one of the best strikers in the UFC right now, let alone the lightweight division. We move on to the 4th best potential candidate to fill in for Dan Hooker at 313. That's got to be Massus Gamrot. It's got to be Gamrot. Look, Gamrot, he's coming off of a loss to Dan Hooker. All the more sense to book this fight. Justin Gaethje, he's getting a top-ranked contender. All right, this guy's up there in the rankings. He's beaten Arman Tsarukyan. All right, he's fought a lot of the same guys that Justin Gaethje's fought. He's fought Rafael Fiziev. All right, his most recent match, he's lost to Dan Hooker. So if you book this fight, Dana White, you book Gamrot to step in on a short notice against Justin Gaethje, and Gaethje beats Gamrot, that's all the more sense to book Dan Hooker against Gaethje in the future. You got the guy that got beat by Hooker, and then you get the guy, the guy that beat the guy that, I don't know. I would be happy to see this fight, but not as happy as I would to share with you my 5th best violent fighter replacement. And it really should be number 1 for me. For me personally, I wouldn't like to see any other person step in there right now with the aura, with the momentum, with the questions than Gene Silva. This is who I want to see step in next. I would love this. If I bought tickets, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking Dan Hooker's about to walk out to fight Justin Gaethje, and I see Gene Silva just bark. I think it's a dog because I hear barking. I just hear barking, and I'm wondering what the hell is going. Where's this barking coming from? I'm inside a T-Mobile arena. Where's this bark? And I look out and it's Gene Silva with veins up his damn neck. I'm gonna be hype as fuck. I'm gonna give the door guy on my way out of T-Mobile $200. Because I underpaid for tickets to see Gene Silva fight. I even went to Gene Silva's Twitter. I'll go right here. But essentially, the post is referencing Gene Silva, saying he could replace Dan Hooker in a fight against Justin Gaethje at 313. I would love this. He did fight a few days ago. He fought just 4 days ago. It is Wednesday the 26th. He fought on Saturday. Had a round 1 knockout. He looked like a member of the Matrix. He looked like he was in the Matrix movie. Same thing. I left that picture up a little bit too long for you. But those are my top 5. Ilya Tapura. Give me Arman Tsarukyan, Renato Moicano, Massus Gamrot, and Gene Silva. 5 violent fighters that could put on an equal, if not better, show than Dan Hooker at 313. In a perfect world, in Guy's perfect world, here's what happens next, all right? Before we get the fill-in for Justin Gaethje, and I mean right now, Dana White books Ilya Tapura to fight Dustin Poirier in New Orleans in June. Welcomes Ilya Tapura into the lightweight division. We get to see if he could really box with those lightweight boys, which he can. but he loses at the end of a 5-round war with Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier officially retires as the best fighter to never win a belt. The second piece, Arman takes the short notice fight against Justin Gaethje at 313 in about 11 days. The winner gets to fight Islam in July, International Fight Week. Justin Gaethje knocks Arman out. That's going to happen. Arman's going to step in on short notice. Arman's going to get knocked out. That's his sacrifice for fucking up the January card. And that leads me on to the fourth piece here. Justin Gaethje knocks out Islam to win the lightweight championship in July. The world goes crazy. Justin Gaethje finally gets the belt. And you think this is over. You think wrong, buddy. Justin calls out Dustin Poirier to come out of retirement and settle the trilogy in December at the end of the year. Dustin Poirier comes out of retirement, fights Justin Gaethje, wins a 5-round unanimous decision victory, and vacates the lightweight belt. So Dustin Poirier comes out of retirement one last time, settles the trilogy, finally wins that belt against Justin Gaethje of all people. Both of them will retire after that fight, after this year in December. And then we sell the UFC to China. We sell the UFC to China, make a boatload of money. There's a bunch of people over there. They could figure it out. Plenty of fighters, plenty of everything going on over there. That's exactly what happens in a perfect world if I was in charge of the UFC. However, the UFC will probably, what they'll probably do for 313. And this has been fantasy up to this point. Now I'm talking real with the viewers here. What the UFC will probably do next is they'll give Moicano 2 Bitcoins to fight Gaethje, which he'll get knocked out, but he's richer, so he's happy. There's probably a 50% chance of that happening. There's a 50% chance that we see Moicano step in and fight Gaethje. The next piece, there's a 25% chance of this happening, okay? 25% chance Rafael Fiziev comes off of his 1.5-year layoff, coming off of two knockout losses. 2 losses for sure. And then fights a rematch with Justin Gaethje, which was a great first fight. 25% chance that happens. 50% chance we see Moicano. And then the rest is they'll probably move Jalen Turner from the main card. He's the 3rd fight on the main card. They'll move him up to fight Justin Gaethje since he's had a full camp to prepare. And he's a ranked guy. So the UFC will probably self-sabotage the first half of their main card and move Jalen Turner up. I'd say a 20% chance that happens, leaving us with the remaining 5% chance that Dana White just pulls a fortune cookie out of his ass and cooks, and we get a better card somehow. Out of Dan Hooker pulling out, we get a better main card, which it happens. Sometimes he does that. 5% chance. If you enjoyed this video, please consider checking out some of the other ones I have on my channel. I did a UFC fighter interview with Mike Davis. I'll put it up there again. I'll link it at the top right. You can press that little I, and it'll take you right to the video. But that's my 5 best potential replacements for Dan Hooker against Justin Gaethje. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel for more fighter interviews, fighter breakdowns. You know what's up.